I think I have always had a fraught relationship with money. I'm not the only one, am I? No, I think it's all of us, even the wealthy, perhaps especially the wealthy, have a fraught relationship of money, whether we think of it that way or not. For me, I remember my younger days, my first job, which didn't pay very much, and my parents still helped me with many things. From there, I went to seminary, which is a private graduate school, while working only part-time. So yeah, there were days early on, there were days. And I'm guessing a lot of you know the feeling, when a surprise bill comes. Maybe it's a car repair, something like that, and it's like a dark cloud descends. It's like the whole world narrows, and it's not just trying to make numbers on a page work. It's a feeling, it's a heaviness that hangs over you. You start snapping at people. Okay, maybe that one's just me. Or maybe not. I'm waiting for nervous laughter here. I'm guessing there's a little bit. I used to think that feeling was about money. Now I don't think it is. Now I think it's about freedom. Have you ever played that game where you have, it's a parking lot and you have to free the car that's in the corner, and to get there you have to slide all the little cars, try to get that one out? I hate that game. I hate that game with passion because it feels like no matter what you move, you can't make room. And there are so many times in life when money feels that way, time, energy. The word for what we're really talking about here is margin. It's about not having enough margin, enough space on the edges to have breathing room, to do what's most important, to do what's comfortable, and to handle whatever may come. And when there is no margin, we feel trapped. What if margin isn't just a financial idea, but a spiritual one? What if margin, and it could be with money or time or energy or whatever it may be for you, what if margin is the space God needs to grow something new in you? You see, that not only reframes the question, but it also opens up a whole new avenue to move towards a healthy place, because God is someone who wants to help us and see us happy and healthy. So let's invite Jesus into the conversation. Jesus taught with stories of everyday life most of the time, and the story that Julie read for us a minute ago is one that comes from farming, and I think it might hold at least part of the key. Now, she just read the first part of it for you. I'm going to read that for you again so it'll be fresh in your head, and then right after it, Jesus' disciples asked him to explain it. And Jesus, there's still plenty of room for the story to speak to you in whatever it needs to say, but Jesus does fill in a few more details about what he meant. So listen. When a great crowd was gathering and people were coming to Jesus from one city after another, he spoke to them in a parable. A farmer went out to scatter seed. As he was scattering it, some fell on the path, where it was crushed. And the birds in the sky came and ate the seed. Other seed fell on rock. As it grew, it dried up because it had no moisture. Other seed fell among thorny plants. The thorns grew with the plants and choked them. Still, other seed landed on good soil. When it grew, it produced 100 times more grain than was scattered. As he said this, he called out, "Everyone who has ears should pay attention." His disciples asked him what this parable meant. He said, "You have been given the mysteries of God's kingdom, but these mysteries come to everyone else in parables, so that when they see, they can't see, and when they hear, they can't understand." That is so Jesus. He goes on, though. Don't worry about that bit. The parable means this: the seed is God's word. The seed on the path are those who hear, but then the devil comes and steals the word from their hearts so that they won't believe and be saved. The seed on the rock are those who receive the word joyfully when they hear it, but they have no root. They believe for a while, but fall away when they are tempted. As for the seed that fell among the thorny plants, those are the ones who, as they go about their lives, are choked by the concerns, riches, and pleasures of life, and their fruit never matures. Can I read that one again? As for the seed that fell among the thorny plants, those are the ones who, as they go about their lives, are choked by the concerns, riches, and pleasures of life, and their fruit never matures. The seed that fell on the good soil are those who hear the word and commit themselves to it with a good and upright heart. Through their resolve, they bear fruit. Did that kind of hit home about the thorny plants? You know, the ones who are the ones who try to do well, who try to make the right decisions, but end up being choked by their worries, by the concerns of life, by the riches, by the search for pleasure, that it ends up choking out everything that's good. You know, in this context today of talking about margin, it makes me think of overextended credit. You know, debt that grows along with the good plants and ends up choking it. Makes me think of comparison, of looking at others and thinking we need to live our lives the same way we see others do. Makes me think about the myth that happiness is one purchase away, that every advertisement ever tries to sell us. You know, most of us aren't reckless. We're just stretched. And there are reasons for every decision we make, and usually good reasons. But when we're stretched too thin, there's no room for roots. There's no room for our lives to grow as much as God wants them to. We're choked out. I'll read it again. As for the seed that fell among the thorny plants, these are the ones who, as they go about their lives, are choked by the concerns, riches, and pleasures of life, and their fruit never matures. Now, I'm no stranger to this, by the way. I'm going to share, usually when I share a personal story, I let it sit for a while before I do, but this one's just too good and too fresh. When I wrote this sermon, like my notes over here, they actually say that we're about to replace my wife's car. We did it Friday. It happened unexpectedly. And part of the decision for us is that the United Methodist Church has a retirement program for clergy, and it's changing in the coming year. And some of the details aren't quite worked out. So like there's going to be a change mid-year. And we kept thinking, boy, it'd be a lot wiser decision if we waited until we knew the details of that before we did the car buying. But then my wife's car has repairs that are pending. You get the idea, right? And it just so happened that the right choice for us was to step out and to eliminate our margin for a while, hoping that it comes back when we get the details. It was very uncomfortable. I really hate this kind of decision making. And I share that only because I think we've all been there. I think we've all been there trying to make the best decisions we can, but life always being stretched thinner than we would like. Now, it's important to say that Jesus doesn't tell this story to make us feel guilty about our soil. So if you feel guilty, if you feel like you need to do a better job as you hear this, well, maybe you do. Maybe there's a little bit of good in there. I know I do. But the point of it, the reason Jesus tells us this isn't to make us feel guilty. It's because soil can change. It's because Jesus also provides the path to living better, to finding better. And so let's stick with his metaphor for a little bit. How is soil improved by a farmer? Like literal soil? By cultivating it. Farmers don't get good soil by accident. They go out and they turn it, they loosen it, they add nutrients to the soil. And it's hard work for a farmer or a gardener to make their soil healthy, to make their ground healthy. It's hard work, but it's worth that work because what you reap is so much more. So, when it comes to our financial life, and for that reason, for all that's worth, you could also apply this to time and energy and wherever else you find yourself without enough margin. But for the sake of conversation, what makes our financial life healthy? Well, one of the best ways is by budgeting. Budgeting brings intentionality to what we do, thinking about it. And this is something that my wife and I, well, we don't struggle with it as much as we did. We have a good budgeting practice that we do, but we don't talk about it very much. It's kind of on autopilot most of the time. But the more we do, the more intentional we are about what we spend, the healthier the soil becomes, the more margin we find ourselves having, even without feeling like we've given something up. Another way we make the soil healthier is with debt reduction. Now that one's hard and it takes a long time, but I think that's kind of like pulling weeds in the gardening metaphor. As I said earlier, debt is the kind of thing, that's the thorn that grows along with the good plants and threatens to choke it out. And so trying to get on top of it, trying to be healthier with the way we manage our resources is like pulling the weeds so that the rest can grow. Saving is the thing that comes after that for most of us. That creates space, it creates stability. And one that I think a lot of people overlook is the importance of giving. We're talking about having healthy finances here and comparing it to having good soil. But that soil needs to have purpose. It needs to align with our values. And whether we're talking about money, our time, our energy, or any of it, it's giving from it that changes our mindset. I mean, it does good in the world. I don't mean to minimize that. But for our own selves, it changes our mindset. It ascribes purpose and value to the things that we have. I figure it's something like adding nutrients to literal soil when you're gardening or a farmer, because it gives purpose to what you have. Now, these are financial acts, but they're spiritual ones too. When we budget, it means we're engaging life on purpose, not just letting it happen to us. It gives us more control over what really matters. When we reduce debt, we free up resources to create that kind of margin that makes space for what's most important. When we save, we steady ourselves and we prepare for unexpected opportunity, not just unexpected bills that have to be paid, but for opportunities that God sends our way. And when we give, that's when we transform our patch of ground to God's, because it gives it purpose. And the result is good soil. The result is that our finances, our life, whatever, becomes not just more able to handle the challenges that come our way, but it means we're ready for the opportunity too, for whatever God gives us to do. It means that we'll be able to handle whatever God would like for us to help with in the world, because we'll be ready. Margin means we have the space to move when God speaks. That's good soil. Now, if you're a member or a regular attender here at Trinity, you know that we're doing our annual pledge campaign right now, and so you're probably not surprised to hear a sermon about money. And I'll tell you, part of me doesn't like talking about money at this time of year because I don't want people to think the church is just asking for money. I mean, we are, because that's what helps us do our work. It's what makes the engine turn. It's what enables us to do more in the world. But I don't want you to think it's just about that. That said, next week, we'll be praying over our commitment cards, as we always do. If you're a member or regular attender, hopefully you've gotten one by mail. We have one another one, so hopefully the Postal Service will deliver this week, so you can be looking for that to come. You can also fill it out online, trinitylincoln.org/pledge, I think it is, and we've got a few over there on the table too you can also grab. Now, usually, in the past, when we've talked about commitment cards, we talk about how it helps us budget as a church. It helps us plan our resources so that we can spend what you give well in the coming year. And that's not untrue. But the truth is, a lot of people don't fill it out. Other people's have to change mid-year. It's not perfect. We still end up estimating to do our best to spend what you give to the church to use. And I'll tell you though, it's a trend for churches to not do these cards anymore. A lot of them have given it up just because it's so imperfect from a budgeting point of view. But I still think they're important. I still think it's important to do these cards, and I'll tell you why. They're not so much a financial planning tool as a discipleship tool, as a spiritual tool. You'll notice that I don't call them pledge cards. Every now and then I slip and say it, but I'm trying not to call it a pledge cards because I don't think that's the point. I don't think that's the purpose of making a commitment like this every year. I think what it's about, it's a symbol of our intention. It's a way of saying, God, I want to be good soil. I want my life and my resources to be good and healthy soil. And no matter what number is on that card, it's about that intention. You know, even if you turned in a card with a 0 written on it, but with the intent to live better, I would consider that a huge, huge win because that's what it's about. It's our intention to dedicate this part of our life to God's use in the world. And it's our intention to be part of what God is doing here at Trinity. And that means that when we see the fruit this church bears, we know we're a part of it. You know, this fall was amazing. That Sacred Assumption series, and we talked about big questions of faith, made a lot of people think deeply. I don't know if I have ever gotten so many really long emails about questions of beliefs. It was wonderful to receive them and to answer them and to be in conversation with people about it. You know, our children's ministry, if all you do is come upstairs on Sunday morning, you never realize that there's probably 60 or more kids right below us every single Sunday morning. There are a lot of kids in our Sunday school, and it is fantastic. Our youth program is booming right now. In fact, so much so that Tommy, our youth director, had to split the schedule to be able to interact with all of the kids. What a great problem to have. And do you all remember how many people were at our trunk or treat? Was it 974, I think it was, on the clicker counter? And if you can count volunteers, that's well over 1,000. Fantastic. See, when you commit, when you are intending to be part of us, that means that you know you are a part of all of that too. And of course, there's the Prepare the Way campaign as we hope to build more space for our children's ministry and youth and a sanctuary as well, we hope. You know, you all have pledged over $2 million to that, and I am impressed that more than a quarter of that has already come in. And maybe I want to give you a brief update too. Maybe you read Joshua's update in the Tower newsletter a couple of weeks ago. But at our last church conference, you all voted to move forward with fundraising, but were wise to hold back on voting on the architect's drawings because we knew that as we got into it, we might have to tweak those plans. Well, that's what we're doing now. Our building committee is revising that based on the fundraising that's coming in, and we've talked to the bank about our capacity to borrow. I'm not going to get into all of those kind of details, but those revisions are going on right now, and we're hoping to come back to the church with some options and for more discussion so that everybody can weigh in on that soon. But it is a good and a beautiful process that once again shows not only the fruit God is bearing in our church, but it's giving you a way to see that you're a part of it because of what you give and because of your intentions. So thank you to all, and especially those who give to both our ministry fund and Prepare the Way, because our ministries, that's always the meat and potatoes. That's always the most important. But those of you who give above and beyond to the building too, thank you to all of you. For now, though, we cultivate our soil so that we can be healthy, because all of those are good. All of that bears more fruit. But what it's really about is making ourselves healthy so that we can be the best tools for God that we can. And so, here's what you need to do today. Think about your intention. Think about how you can live your life in a way that makes you better soil, that dedicates your resources to God. And maybe it's not through Trinity. Maybe it's giving to a community organization. I'm not trying to say that, but how can you be healthy to what God is calling you to do and make that intention? We have commitment cards, and I hope you will bring one back next week. Next week is the week we're going to pray over them, so grab one on your way out if you don't have one. And I hope that you will use that as a symbol of your intention, because that makes all the difference. Okay, I want to end like this. The last time I preached on the parable of the seeds, it was several years ago, and I lamented that I had a black thumb, that every time I tried to grow a plant, it died. and I admitted that I didn't like that about myself, that I wanted to be better. Well, after that sermon, I went over to Campbell's, and I got a couple of house plants, and I said to myself, I'm going to try. I'm going to see if I can keep a plant alive and see what happens. And I got several. One of them is a snake plant in my office, and I use an app to remind me to water it because I know how my brain works. And the app suggested that I name it Robert Plant. And of course, that joke happens on a day when Michael isn't here, but that's all right, I'll fill him in. And it came in a smallish pot, and I remember carrying it into my office from the street out here, and I was holding it like this, and it was catching in my beard. And I tell you this to give you an idea of how big it was, okay? So it was a snake plant, it was about like that, it was kind of getting in my beard like that. And they told me that if I really wanted to thrive, I might want to put it in a little bit bigger pot so that it would have some margin on the sides, and that if I did that, I'd probably see some pups, some new sprouts growing up on the side. And so I did that. I got a little bit bigger pot, and I got some soil, and I repotted it in the middle. I was scared to take it out in the root ball, but anyway, that's another thing. Got it in there, had some margin on the side. Well, I want to show you a picture of what that plant is like. Gosh, is it a year and a half, maybe 2 years later? Look at it. That is taller than just tickling my beard as I carry it, right? That plant has thrived, and it's been so good to watch it. But you notice, so I put it in the bigger pot with the margin, right? So which one of the blades is the tallest? You see, it's that one on the right that's sticking up the highest. Well, take a look at what it looks like at the bottom. That isn't one of the original blades. That's one that grew from the margin. The tallest one there, the one that is thriving the most, the one that is the most beautiful of all of them, isn't one of the original ones who was there when I started. It's one of the ones that was there because I did the work to make the margin. This picture doesn't even do it justice. Stop by my office, I'll show you in person. But I'll tell you, when the soil is good, the harvest is unstoppable. So let's be the kind of people who cultivate margin and who therefore have the freedom to say yes when God calls. Would you pray with me? Oh God, it is hard work to create margin in our lives. But every one of us can do it, each in our own way, though that may look different for all of us. Oh God, help us to cultivate the soil of our lives and of the things that we have and the things that we do, the way we spend our time and our energy. Help us to cultivate it in such a way to create margin. And oh God, when there is an opportunity for us to do something in service to you and your world, may we use that margin freely for the purpose we work to create it. May we use it for the good of you and all that you do in this world around us. We pray it in the name of the one who gave us the parable and so much more, Jesus. Amen.